pramana vyavahara requires indriya vyapara, functioning of sense organs. Functioning of sense organs requires first mind. Mind is required, pramata is required. For pramata to come into existence, mind is required. For mind to function, sense organs are required. For sense organs, body is required. And for the body to function, you have to identify with the body. Now, therefore, he says, anadhyasta atma bhavena dehena kinchit vyapriyate. No functioning of the body as a basis for sense organs and mind. Okay? Body as a basis for the functioning of sense organs and mind, for the sense organs and mind to function, body has to be the basis. For the body to be the basis for the body to be in order, for the body to be basis for the functioning of sense organs and mind, body has to be identified first. A body which you don't identify with, a deha which you don't identify with, cannot be your vehicle. So body with which you have no identification cannot be your vehicle for functioning for pramana vyavahara. Here one more thing. You need to identify with the body, then that body will function. It's something like you have to board the train, then only the movement of the train will become your movement. You have to board the bus or car. If you don't board the car, then the car's movement cannot become your movement. Similarly, I have to board the body, means I have to identify with the body, then the bodily movement becomes my own movement. Okay? The movement of the body becomes my own movement when I identify with it. Seeing this, somebody thought, oh, so seeing this example, illustration of car, people thought that body, when it is identified, the functioning of the body belong to you. If you don't identify with the body, what happens? Body's functions belong to somebody else. That is okay theoretically, but in your actual life, there is no body without being identified with it. This is the most important. In the last class, I concluded the talk, I closed the talk with this statement. This needs to be understood well. The body, there cannot be, identification with the body is necessary for the bodily qualities to belong to me. Bodily movements, bodily activity, bodily qualities should belong to me. Bodily qualities become my qualities. Bodily functioning become my functioning. Okay. Body's movement become my movements. Whatever is the condition of the body, that becomes my conditioning. Means body's conditions I take upon myself only when I identify with the body. But here one more important thing. Anadhyasta atma bhavena na kinchit vyapriyate. The last sentence is a very interesting sentence. He says, anadhyasta atma bhavena dehena. A deha with which you have no identification, that deha cannot function. How do you understand this? Some people, my first guru, my earlier guru, Mula Vidya Guru, used to tell me, I don't want to take his name, but just listen. Okay? For us, The point is important, we are not interested in the people. Okay, the paksha, the argument is important, not the persons. Because we are not studying others' views, we are studying Atma. We are investigating into the Atma. In that we only take help of others' views. Others' view also might help us, that's all. To the extent others' views help us, we take them. But otherwise, we are not interested in directly the views of others. What they hold, what they don't hold is immaterial to us. We are interested in the truth. Okay. So, anadhyasta atma bhavena. He says, you identify with your body. He would say like this. You identify with your body, you can raise your hand. Because you are identifying with your hand. Can you raise others' hand? Other person's body? Other person's body you can't raise. Can you raise others' hand like this? You can't raise it because you have not identified with his body. You are identifying with this body, you are not identifying with the other's body. Therefore, see, this is the illustration he gives. This, I think, have you heard these things? A body with which you have not identified, that body cannot function. Because the bodily functions do not belong to me. To explain this, we give the example of a car. But the example of a car doesn't suit here perfectly well. But they people take it that way. Without identifying with the body, you can't become pramata. You can't become an actor. Actor means one who does the thing, agent of action. Because the bodily functions do not belong to you unless you identify with the body. So this is seeing these things, he gave an example that you are identified with your body, that's why you can raise your hand. You can raise your finger. But can you raise the hand of another person? You can't, because you are not identified with that body. He thought that this constitutes a very good illustration, but this is a misleading illustration, I tell you. The example of car, the example of this, your body and others' body, these are misleading examples. I repeatedly asked that Guruji, but he repeatedly tells the same thing. I again questioned further, he gets irritated. Okay, the idea is they have not understood. The illustration is conveying a wrong idea. The illustration is conveying a wrong idea, they refuse to see. Simple thing is what I felt in my beginning days of Vedanta. The other body, the question of other body is there only when you identify this body. The world, other body, the world, all that is experienced when you identify with this body. Therefore, other people, prapancha, the world is not outside your adhyasa. See, you can't give an example, you can't give an illustration of your own adhyasa. To understand your adhyasa, you can't give the same thing as a part of the same thing which is a part of your adhyasa. Other person you are able to see only when you identify with this body. Okay. When you identify with this body, you are perceiving others' body is a part of the same adhyasa. Is a part of the same adhyasa. I don't know whether you are able to see. When I identify with this body, my sense organs function, then I am able to see another person. So seeing another person is a part of my perception. My perception is there because I identify with the body. Therefore, my identification with the body, my perception and the other person, all this is one adhyasa. All this is one adhyasa. This he failed to help me to understand. This he failed to show me. And he says, you are not identified with others' body. Others' body is a body visible only when I identify with the body. That is also part of same adhyasa. You can't show it as an example for non-adhyasa. You can't show others' body as an illustration for non-adhyasa. Because this Vedanta is only a theoretical Vedanta, outside Vedanta, useless Vedanta, misleading Vedanta. I am sorry if I am very harsh, looking very harsh. I am only telling you how it created trouble to me. How it gave me misunderstanding. I am only experiencing, I am only narrating to my experience. I am not trying to criticize any others. Okay, I found how I found it was difficult for me to understand. It was giving me a wrong understanding. I understood that when I identify with the body, I perceive the world. Perception of the world is within adhyasam puraskritya sarve pramana prameya vyavaharaha. What is Bhashyakara telling? You note this because you also may read the books of Mula Vidyavadins. Okay. You also may listen to certain teachers. They give examples. Our purpose is not to criticize them, but to understand yourself. Okay? To understand ourselves alone. That is the point. You leave them, people are not important. We don't want to be disrespectful to them, disrespectful to them, and they are great in their own respect, and we seek their blessings and we do namaskara to them, and their blessings are definitely helpful to us, and they are capable of blessing us because they are great people. But here point is to understand the fact, irrespective of who says it. Now Bhasha, now again, so don't say that people started dividing the people. Understand the facts, don't divide the people. Facts are facts universally for you and for me, everybody, fact is same. Okay. Even if a person misunderstands, it doesn't matter. The fact, see, sun rising in the east is a fact for you, fact for me. If one person is still sleeping, or if one person is in the room, closed room, he has not come out and seen the sunlight, yet sun has risen. Whether he sees it or not, whether he recognizes it or not, even if he is a blind man, sun rising is a fact for everybody. Therefore, look at the facts, not to the people. We don't divide the people. Even if a person doesn't accept, doesn't understand, doesn't recognize that the sun has risen, still sun rising is a fact even for him. Fact is a fact, same fact for everybody. Therefore, let us look at the fact. Let us understand the facts. If a person fails to understand the fact, modern English, we have no issue with them. Issue means problem. Modern days, they use the word issue. I don't know how this modern English has come. They use word issue in the sense of problem. There is no problem with them. Instead of calling, we have no problem with them, we have no issue with them. See, this modern youngsters English, we have no issue with them. We used to say, we were taught English that there is no problem with them. If a person doesn't recognize a fact, we understand that he has not recognized the fact, that's all. Fact is visible to all, it is an open fact, it is in front of everybody. It is a matter of everybody's experience. What is a matter of everybody's experience? If another person fails to understand, a respectable person fails to understand, leave them out of sympathy. Don't feel hurt, don't be angry with them. Why be angry? If he himself doesn't understand, unable to tell us, why should we be angry with them? And why should we feel that we are offending him when we know the fact? By knowing the fact, we are not offending anybody. Okay? By just knowing the fact, we are not offending anybody. If a person doesn't recognize the fact, and why should he feel offended when I recognize the fact and he fails to recognize the fact? Why should he feel offended? If he feels offended, we only tell him sorry, that we have respect for him, but we won't give up the fact. See? If somebody is offended by my understanding that adhyasa is avidya, I only tell him sorry for his personal offense. But fact, I want to reject the fact. Okay? I want to reject the fact just because he fails to accept adhyasa is avidya. If he personally feels hurt with me, offended with me, I tell him sorry, because personally let us not feel offended. Because facts do not depend upon you or me or anybody. Okay? Facts do not depend upon anybody. Fact is independent on its own. We are the losers if we fail to recognize the fact. Okay? We are the losers. We are at fault if we fail to recognize the fact. And if you know the fact and you are a lucky person, you are a blessed person. The fact blesses you. The very awareness of a fact, the very knowledge of the fact is a great blessing, because how the knowledge of a fact is a great blessing. The knowledge of a fact removes your bhranti, your misunderstanding about the fact. But if you expect that person to accept the fact, then that hurts you. If you expect the other person to accept you, he may not accept, he may fail to accept, he may be unable to accept for whatever reason, either due to his ignorance or his stubbornness, or due to incapacity, or his unwillingness, due to ego, whatever may be the reason. If he fails to recognize the fact, it's okay. But if you expect him to recognize, if he recognizes, then only I shall recognize, then you are hurt. I don't want to tell you what I have gone through. This is what I have gone through. All these problems I had gone through. Okay? You have respect for people, expect them to understand, but they fail to understand, and then you feel hurt, and then goes on all these emotional problems. We had gone through all these problems. So if you also go through, better be relaxed. No persons are important. Important means in knowing the facts. But for respecting, all people deserve respect from us. In spite of their failure to understand, in spite of their disagreement with us, still they deserve respect from us. Because a person who agrees with us is also helping as much as a person who is disagreeing with us. By disagreeing also, he helps us, he blesses us. Okay? Therefore, a person who disagrees with us, he also helps us. Helps us to show the contrast between them. So why disrespect to people? In spite of their views, their opinions, their ideas, their misunderstandings, understandings, whatever they have, still they deserve respect from us. Okay, facts should not be the contention. Fact should not be the basis for quarrel, for disrespecting people. Okay, because emotions come into play. You respect in spite of his misunderstanding, in spite of his disagreement, still respect. Because respect is a very quality of human nature. Respecting makes a good person, gentle person, a peaceful mind. Your mind is peaceful. You are relaxed, happy person. You are a purer heart. When you respect the people, irrespective of his views, good or bad, right or wrong, whatever his views, just to be respectful to them. You need not agree. To be able to respect a person, you need not agree. Nor he needs to agree with you in order to command your respect. Okay? Agreement, understanding is different from respect. This is the most important. I tell the people have to learn this thing. I learnt very, very hard way. Very, very hard way I learnt it. Facts are facts. Many people need this to learn. Facts are Sakshat Bhagavan himself. The truth is Bhagavan himself. and doesn't depend upon anybody. He is independent on his own. We have to humbly learn, humbly, seriously, sincerely learn the facts. If other person fails to understand, fails to help us, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Still be kind and respectable, compassionate, sympathetic to the person. I hope I have communicated myself clearly. Okay? No disrespecting. Still feel kind to them, respectable to them. But facts, no compromise. No compromise regarding the facts. Therefore, see here the point. For adhyasa, anadhyasta atma bhavena dehena kinchit vyapriyate. No body functions without yourself identifying with it. When I say these things, the right way is there is no body at all. When you don't identify with a body, in the absence of your identification with the body, there is no body. Body is a body. Body is a your body only when you identify with it. Only when it is, means body is your body only under your identification. This is the most important. I learnt very hard way. Years together I struggled, up and down I went. You see, watch this thing. It's a great fact, important fact. It relieves you of lot of problems, confusions, misunderstandings. It removes the very samsara. Body is a body only when you under your adhyasa. Without your adhyasa, you have no body. Without adhyasa, you have no sarpa. Sarpa is visible. Sarpa comes to your experience. By sarpa I mean snake. Snake comes to your experience only when you are under illusion. Only when you are under misunderstanding. Without being under illusion, body cannot be experienced. In fact, experience of the body itself is the illusion, itself is adhyasa. Experience of the body, that I am a body, that I am limited to the body, your self-image, quality of the body, nature of the body, whatever you are. An experience that I am an individual, all this implies your identification with the body. Your identification with the body, that I have a body, that I am an individual, all this comes under adhyasa. Okay. Not only that, I extend a little more. During the adhyasa, not only your experience of the body, whatever you experience through the body. This is one more step. 2 steps. Body cannot be experienced without adhyasa. Only under adhyasa you have a body. If you have no body, means you have no adhyasa. If a jnani who disproves his adhyasa, he will not experience the body. This is most important. If you disprove your adhyasa, if you correct your misunderstanding that I am the body, when you correct your misunderstanding that I am the body is a misunderstanding. When you correct the misunderstanding, you become free from adhyasa. When you become free from adhyasa, you become free from the body. Note. You can read not only Adhyasa Bhashya, you can read entire Shankara Bhashya. Anywhere you see whether Bhashyakara concurs these words. In dream, when you are in dream, you have a dream body. When you give up the dream, you have no dream body. You can't leave the body and come out of the dream. Okay? You can't come out of the dream and leave. You can't leave the body and come out of it. When you come out of the dream, body also disappears with the dream. And when you enter the dream, enter means when you find yourself in the dream, not entering. The word entering should not be used because there is no such thing called entry. Nobody has experienced the entry. We can only say when you are in the dream, that's all. When you find yourself in the dream, I think this is the right expression. Because why should I not say entering the body? Why should I say finding yourself in the dream? Why should I say you find yourself in the dream? Why can't I say that you enter into the dream? Because entry means beginning. But a dream doesn't begin. Note, Dream experience doesn't begin. You find yourself in the dream, that's all. No question of beginning of a dream. Dream doesn't begin, doesn't end. You find free from the dream, that's all. You find yourself in the dream. When you wake up, what happens? You find yourself free from the dream. No ending of the dream. You become free from the dream. Being free from the dream is different from ending of the dream, because you don't begin the dream. Just as you don't begin the dream, you also don't end the dream. Okay, you watch this. Watch these words. Just as you don't begin the dream, you don't end the dream. Why? Because you find yourself in the dream. You find free from the dream, that's all. You find yourself free from the dream. You only discover that you are free from the dream. You don't conclude the dream. You don't put an end to the dream. You become free from the dream. See, this is most important. This is called Badha. Badha is different from concluding, ending a thing. Ending and beginning is a matter of karma and karma phala. Okay. I already told you in the last class that the last sentence needs to be discussed in the whole one class. So today I am spending the whole one class on this topic. This is the most important. Anyway, whole Vedanta is important, but certain things are more important because we are likely to miss it. And certain teachings also complicate it, obstruct it in understanding, complicate the situation. So dream doesn't, just as the beginning of the dream cannot be experienced by anybody, ending of the dream also nobody can experience. Do you see that the dream has ended, or you discover that you are free from the dream? Watch this. You don't listen to me, you don't accept me blindly. You listen, pay attention to your life, watch. Then only you will understand. If you accept me blindly, you won't understand the facts. It is a vichara. It is to be understood, not to be accepted blindly. There is another shastra where the upasana, there you have to accept it. There I myself will tell you, accept this. Accept it, don't question it, I myself will tell you when you are doing of upasana. Upasana is a simple sentiment, it is a feeling, it is a devotional feeling. It is a noble sentiment. Live in the sentiment. Maintain the sentiment continuously. Continuously maintain the sentiment. All the negative sentiments, negativity, impurities go away. That is a beautiful feeling of upasana. That is bhakti and upasana. But this is vichara, investigation, knowing the truth. Therefore, we should not talk of beginning of the dream and entry into the dream. Nobody enters into dream because nobody experiences the entry of dream, entry point of the dream. Nobody experiences beginning of a dream because you find yourself in dream, that's all. That's called, this is what called anadi. Okay, what is anadi? You find yourself in dream, that is anadi. Ananta also. Adhyaso anadyanantaha naisargikaha sarvaloka pratyakshaha. Bhashyakara's thinking, I tell you, unparalleled. Nowhere you will find Shankaracharya's teachings. See, prapancha is, adhyasa is anadi ananta. He says it is ananta. Nobody ends adhyasa. You only falsify adhyasa. You don't end adhyasa. Ending is within time. Ending means, beginning means, abba. So much of noise and disturbance. Okay, we have to put up with it until they do something with my window. This corona is lifted, something can be done about my window. Okay, the beginning of dream. You find in your dream, you find free from the dream, that's all. What happens to the dream? There is no question of happening. You don't experience the dream, that's all. Because dream neither existed before nor exists now. You become free from the dream because it never existed. This is what called badha or falsification, sublation, mithyatvam. Understanding it to be mithya means what in this sense? Beginning means it is an event that happens in time, and you can watch it, you can see that it is beginning, you can see that in time it is ending, but there is no beginning, no ending. Nobody can see the beginning, and nobody can see the beginning of your jiva bhava. Okay? Can you see the beginning of jiva? I think it is one class is not enough. Anyway, if not one enough, let us take 2 classes, but this is most important. This is the foundation of Vedanta, I tell you. Okay. Can you see the beginning of jiva bhava? Jiva bhava means what? Karta bhokta. Karta bhokta pramata. Can you see the beginning of your pramatrutvam, kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam? When did you begin to find yourself as an individual? Can you see the beginning of your individuality? That I am a karta, that I am a bhokta, that I am an individual. When did you see the beginning of your individuality? Before that, can you imagine before that? The very thought of before and later is meaningless, because it is as an individual you can experience time. Okay. As an individual, you can experience time and past and present and future and subject-object duality. Subject-object, experience of subject and object, experience of past and present, experience of present and future, experience of beginning and ending, experience of cause and effect. All this is experienced as an individual. Okay. But how do you see the beginning of individuality? That means before you become individual, was there a time? Did you experience a time before you were an individual? Or, note this point, or you experience the time as an individual. See, did you experience the time when you are not an individual, like in deep sleep? When you are not individual, no experience of time, no question of present, past, no question of a process. There is no process. When you are not individual, you don't experience a process. You don't experience a beginning. You don't experience a ending. No beginning, no ending, no previous, later, no continuation. All these are part of time. But when you are not an individual, like in deep sleep, when you are not a karta, bhokta, pramata, as in deep sleep, you can't experience beginning of something, beginning of your individuality. But when you find yourself to be an individual, okay, when you find yourself to be an individual, like in waking and dream, you find yourself to be an individual in waking and dream, what happened? You experience a time. You experience a beginning of something, ending of something. All experiences of beginning and time is experienced by an individual. Therefore, how does the individual begin? You can't see. Who can see? Can individual see the beginning of individuality? Individual cannot see his own beginning. He can't see. And when you are not individual, like in deep sleep, individuality doesn't begin at all, because there is no individuality. In deep sleep, there is no individuality and you can't see its beginning. And in waking, you are already an individual. It is the individual who is seeing it. Therefore, the Sakshi who is in deep sleep is mistaken as waking individuality or a waking state. Sushupti is mistaken as waking state. Sushupti Sakshi is mistaken as a waking individual. Okay. Sushupti Sakshi is mistaken as waking individuality. But it is a mistaking, this mistake is anadi. Mistake because we find ourselves to be individual and we don't know when it began. You find yourself to be an individual, that's all. All that you can say, you find yourself to be an individual. As an individual, you experience the time. You experience the concept of relationship of previous and later. That is a time relationship, before and later. Okay. Therefore, you can't see the beginning of dream. You can't see the beginning of jiva bhava. You can't see the beginning of adhyasa. Adhyasa, dream, jiva bhava, all the three are same. Okay. You can't see the beginning of dream. Similarly, this is also a dream. You can't see the beginning of waking state. You can't see the beginning of individuality. Similarly, you can't see the ending of it. Just as you keep on dreaming, you mean dream comes to an end? There is no coming to an end. You discover, you come to understand you are free from dream. Earlier, see, there was a dreaming personality, individual, and dream world. Dream world, dream individuality doesn't exist for you, you are Sakshi. When are you Sakshi? See, do you experience that you are a dream individual and continue, dream individual suddenly becomes a Sakshi? No. Sakshi is ever existing. Sakshi is a timeless existence. You understand you are a timeless Sakshi. You have never been a dream individual. Dream is a false. Dream individuality is a false. You have been always a Sakshi. You have been always a consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is not a, you can't say dream individuality is a first step and the dream Sakshi is the next step. Do you see dreams? Sakshi of the dream begins. If Sakshi of the dream begins, then the dream individuality ends. Ending of dream individuality, beginning of Sakshitvam, this nobody can see. Ending of dream individuality, beginning of dream Sakshitvam. Again I repeat, ending of dream individuality, beginning of dream Sakshi, they are not connected as previous and later. There is no sequence between them. Just as waking Sakshi, dream Sakshi and the beginning of a dream, there is no sequence between them. Deep sleep and dream state, is there a sequence? Deep sleep and waking, deep sleep and dream state, is there a sequence between them? For the sequence to take place, there should be a common time. Deep sleep and dream state, do they function in one time series? Can you see them as a sequence? No. For the deep sleep, there is no dream state. When you are in dream, you already experience a time, you experience a sequence, but the sequence belongs to dream world alone. Deep sleep and dream cannot be put as a two. They are not two. They cannot be connected. They are not two. There is no sequence between them. Therefore, finding myself to be dream person, dreaming individuality is adhyasa, natural instinctive adhyasa, and also beginningless adhyasa. Okay. Ending also, dream has no ending. Note this, Naisargikoyam loka vyavaharaha. Adhyasa Bhashya Shankaracharya says one sentence, you have to contemplate for days and months to understand. You can't find fault with Shankaras because there is no impossible. He says perfect truth, universal truth he talks of. We may take long time to understand, but once you understand, you are really lucky person, a blessed person. Not person, you transcend your very individuality. You are the whole blessedness Paramatma. Blessed means Paramatma only. You are become blessed. You become very Paramatma. Just as a dream doesn't begin, dream doesn't end. You can only say you find yourself to be the dreamer and you find that you are free from the dreamerhood. You find yourself to be free from the dreamerhood, free from the dream world. Similarly, the waking. Nobody can see the beginning of the waking because you find yourself as a waker, that's all. How? I don't know. I find myself to be the waker. And ending also, you can't end the waking. You can only understand you can only understand your nature as a Sakshi, which is free from the waking world, that's all. Which is free from the dream world. You discover yourself to be a Sakshi who has not become free from the dream. See, ending means what? Do you become free from, note the word become, underline become. Do you become free from the world, or you understand you are always free from the dream? See, you don't become free from the dream world. You understand you are ever free from the dream world. This is called Badha. This is called falsification, sublation, Badha, whatever Sanskrit or English term you use it. This is called understanding it to be Mithya. Okay. Similarly, the waking world. You understand you are ever free from the waking world. You don't end it. There is no ending. Because world has beginningless and endless. Similarly, nobody can end Adhyasa. Because Adhyasa doesn't begin. Jiva Bhava doesn't begin. Jiva Bhava doesn't end. You transcend Jiva Bhava. You discover your nature which is free from Jiva Bhava. You don't end it. Ending means there is a sequence. Ending and also after ending. Ending and after ending, is there a time series? When you are free from individuality, you are free from time also. You are free from sequence also. Okay? You are free from time. You are free from sequence. Therefore, you can only discover, you can only understand that you are free from the dream world and dream individuality and dream jiva. Similarly, you become, therefore, jiva bhava of waking, that is a waking individuality. There is only one jiva bhava, there are no two jivas. Waking and dream both are same one jiva. Therefore, the jiva bhava, the waking state doesn't end. Therefore, Adhyasa doesn't end. Okay? Adhyasa neither begins nor ends. You only discover that you are ever free from Adhyasa. Not that you have become, now you have become free from Adhyasa. A while ago I was in Adhyasa. I was and now I became. See, was, become, this sequence won't be there. That is called Badha. If you find such a sequence, that is not Jnanam. I tell you bluntly. If you think that I was in Adhyasa and now I become Jnani, the Jnanam doesn't take place like that. Jnanam doesn't take place like that. You understand you are ever free. You are never a waker. You are never a jiva. You are always free from jivahood. Your very nature is Sakshi, which never had a jivahood. Therefore, you have not given up jivahood and come to this state. You discover Swarupam, you discover a nature which has been ever free from jiva bhava. Which is ever free from jiva bhava. Jiva bhava never existed for you because you have been always free. You have been ever free from jiva bhava. Now tell me, is Adhyasa beginningless and endless or not? Okay? Now you get the idea of beginningless and endless Adhyasa. I think this point our Kannada, those who listen to Kannada talks should understand this most important point we discussed today. Okay. I think I shall repeat it in my Kannada class also, Vedanta Paribhasha. This is the crux of Vedanta, the foundation of point which we have discussed today. Okay, I think we'll conclude today. But this point I have to say few more points and conclude it in the next class. Okay, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat.